his feet. It is caught by Tyree.
All right, here we are again. We are live in Vegas for Catch the Moment podcast. Super excited about what we're continuing to bring to you. What are we talking about here? It's about the process, the journey, the pain points, and everything else behind the moment. And I just can't tell you how I'm excited I am to have family in the building, and none greater than Las Vegas' own Steven Jackson. What's good, my boy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, listen, I'm on your turf, man. I'm really excited, man. Thank you for receiving me, and even thank you for making time for what we just building, man. Just building, doing life. So I gotta get right into this. It's gonna be two things. So I'm known for this moment. That's obviously the theme of the podcast, right? So this is like Chronicles, right? I'm gonna call it the Chronicles of the helmet catch. You got to tell me, where were you when you saw the catch, and if what was your thoughts, or if there was any story that you can remember from that time?
Yeah, obviously I remember the catch. What year? I just need you to help jar that.
So that's 07 season, 08, and we obviously that was the Patriots undefeated team.
No, for sure. It was in Arizona, right?
Arizona.
Super Bowl, Arizona. I was there. I was actually in Arizona, not at the game.
Okay, gotcha.
I was in Arizona. No, I'll take that back, actually. I was in Arizona the week of the game. I flew back home because obviously it's a short flight from Phoenix to Vegas. So I flew back home, and we were watching the game. And regardless of where the setting was, I do recall jumping on the couch. But I jumped on the couch before you even made your catch. I jumped on the couch when Eli got out of the grasp of the sack. I couldn't believe it. I mean, he's not the most mobile person, right?
Come on, tell the truth.
Right, everybody talks about this. So, he was not the most mobile. So when they actually allowed him to get out of the grasp of the sack, I was like, whoa, like, this is really happening, like live theater for sure. And then when the ball went in the air, it wasn't the prettiest spiral. No. It was a duck. So when the ball was hanging in the air, I can only imagine what your mind was thinking, how big your eyes probably got big as a silver dollar. Yeah. But as the ball was flailing in the air, it's getting ready to come down, and you, it's like angels in the outfield. But
you already know.
You went and got the ball, and you managed to come down with it, hand, helmet, and everything else in between, and secured the catch. And it was one of those moments when jumping on the couch, it was like, yo, like this just happened. They finna beat them. The undefeated season for what? Kind of thing. And it was one of those things that I knew it was that moment that it was going to define not only your career, but it was going to define a lot of the New York Giants franchise going forward. Man, that grittiness, right? Like don't give up mentality that you guys are known for.
Yeah, the resilience. I appreciate you sharing that. It's always cool because, when people know you for a moment, of course, there's this idea that there's so much more to it, and that's really what we want to get into. But I found that everybody's moment, and I'm sure when a fan approaches you, a friend approaches you, there's something that you've accomplished that means something more to them than you could have imagined, right? So that's the premise there. So let me flip it now. I mean, you got one of the most iconic careers, one of the best running backs to play the game. I believe it's 18th on the rushing list as it stands today.
18th, yeah.
Bro, that's really crazy. Like, people sometimes don't weigh it, and I know when you're one of the best and you don't, you probably feel like or know that, like, man, I know that dude, I could have got this, I could have got that. So what would you say was the defining moment or, experience, achievement in your career?
Well, I think, I've accomplished a lot, so it's hard to answer that question right up. But I do want to, I guess, clear some things up because it still bothers me a little bit because this is what the show's about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the Rams' all-time leading rusher. And many people don't know that, right? And that's not to the discredit of what I was able to accomplish in my time. It was just I was on some bad teams, and we're not on live television a lot. So a lot of the things I was able to do and accomplish and have these highlight moments, right? Those moments were seen by very few compared to a Super Bowl instance like for yourself. Yeah. So that being said, although I am the Rams' all-time leading rusher, most fans only hear he's the 18th leading rusher, right? So it diminishes what I was able to do on a franchise that's known for running backs, where behind me now you have the names of Eric Dickerson and Marshall Faulk.
Yeah.
Both Hall of Famers, both, play for different teams as well, like I did. But the teams that they're known for and the team that we all share, I tend to get lost sometimes.
Man, I appreciate you saying that because that's so real, right? It's like you just said it. Eric Dickerson, Marshall Faulk, Todd Gurley now. I think because of the shift to LA and some of the prominence, these guys, bro, you slayed. I mean, like I believe it was 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah, 8 straight of them.
That's bananas. So, man, let me give you your roses, bro.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Let me give you your roses because I actually remember in my mind, watching you grind. I came in 2003, and how old were you when you came in the league? You came in the next year, right?
Came in the next year. When Paul Tagliabue, commissioner, said my name, I was 20.
Dang.
My birthday's in July, so before the season started, I turned 21. But
got it.
That first rookie contract, my parents had to co-sign because I wasn't legally able at the age of 21. Yeah,
bro, you was a full-grown man at 20. So obviously, what people do know is that you two at the time when you got drafted? What 230, 225, 230? 235, 4.4 speed.
Yeah.
I mean, you were literally I know we ain't got no feelings here, but you was literally a gorilla out there in the backfield, a monster. So that really that bugs me out. Like it's easy for people to like when I have this one moment, it's easy for people to minimize I was an all-pro special teams player. I'm cool in my own lane, but bro, you are literally one of the best running backs to do it. So moving into kind of like that reality, how was your transition? 20 years old into the National Football League. You from Vegas, which has it has its own reputation. I'm loving the growth of where Vegas is at today. How was it coming into the league at 20 years old?
Whoa, for a kid out of Vegas, it was a thing that it was everything I dreamed it would be. It was that moment you get whisked away. First rounders, you fly out to the teams that, respectively drafted you, and you do this press conference. You're welcomed by the city with open arms. So it was everything that I dreamed of. And then my first practice or OTAs, you walk into the huddle and you're looking at the eyes of Orlando Pace, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Hope, Marshall Faulk. You know what I'm saying? I could go on and on and on. So as a kid, as 20-year-old kid, I was just like, I've arrived. I thought I was there. The Rams are at that earlier stage in the early 2000s. They were possibly a dynasty forming, right? So to be inherited and go to a team like that, I was very grateful, but two, I assumed that was a norm. I didn't know the storm that was on the way. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, yeah. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. So, like I said, you're in the midst of Hall of Famers as you get drafted. In light of that, and obviously you have a historic career at Oregon State, what formulated the pedigree, right? I'm always interested in like mindset, right? And I think all of us tonight's draft night, you have to have, most people don't understand the physical attributes are amazing and dynamic, and we could look at combine and like go crazy. But what about your mentality? What about your upbringing? What shaped you to be that guy who could arrive on that stage and be prepared for it?
It's therapy. It's not an interview.
That's what we're looking for, family. We here.
So I would say to answer that question, the mentality. How did that form? I'm a son of a Marine, and my mom's a minister.
Damn.
So I don't know what quit is, and I don't know what giving up hope is. I don't even know what those are. Being somebody that's from Las Vegas, a desert, I also take great pride in. It doesn't take much to survive. I just need a few essentials. So if you give me a pair of cleats or fields, I'm going to make it do what it do, right? So that mentality that I was born and raised with is something that was formed by my family, but two, my surrounding, nobody's coming to save you in the desert. If you don't have shade and some water, you in trouble, right? So being able to work out in the dead heat of summer was something that I took pride in. Probably not the smartest thing, but I took pride in being able to withstand a 110-degree workout. I took pride in being able to work out at 3 a.m. because it's Vegas, so nothing shuts down. So I could go to the gym at 3 a.m. I'm going to the gym at 3 a.m. because David Tyree's at the gym at 6 a.m. in New York. So David Tyree don't even know I'm up working with him, So that mentality of just don't let up, don't give up, don't lose faith was instilled in me since I was a young man.
Brandon, I'm loving this because this is some of which is missing, right? And we're in a, I call it we're in a factory, right? We're pushing out product even as it relates to, and I'm not upset with it, right? It's an amazing game how the process evolves with athletes, but that all these, I guess you could say accessories or opportunities weren't ready and available. You had to go create things. You had to go, I had to go find a hill to run in. It wasn't like, this 10,000 fitness facilities all over the place. So that's kind of what you're talking about, this guerrilla mentality where I'm out working my man. I'm working when this guy's not working. So, man, I'm absolutely loving that. So tell me about, what was the difficult, what did you find to be difficult as you were transitioning and just kind of navigating your way into the league with those expectations, with your mindset, right? Because you have lofty expectations for yourself. What was the difficulty?
Being humble enough to wait on the blessing. I think when you're these young men, let's just talk about this young man tonight. These young men about to get drafted, most of them will not have a long career. That's a fact.
That is a fact.
But you walk in with expectancy that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And when you walk in that expectancy and it lets you down, that person becomes somewhat torn. And he has to learn how to put himself back together and figure out who he is. So I think when I was drafted, obviously I wanted to go in and be an immediate starter.
Mm-hmm.
And that just wasn't my journey. My journey was you need to sit down and you need to learn. But as a 20-year-old man that was foaming at the mouth to prove himself, I wasn't willing and I didn't understand how beneficial that would be for me. But humbly enough, we all get pills in different forms. So sitting back and watching what was happening with the greatest show on turf, as they were retiring and slowing down, their work ethic didn't stop. The way they approached the game did not stop. So although I had to sit down on the bench and watch, I was watching some of the greatest. You know what I'm saying? I had a chance to see Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce literally run routes, rep after rep. It looks like poetry in motion. It was ballerina style. I had a chance to sit in film session with one of the smartest running backs to ever play the game in Marshall Faulk and hear how he asked questions, hear what he was looking at on film.
Yeah.
Because when you're watching film in college, it's different in the league, right? You think you're watching film in college, but when you get to the NFL, people know everything about each other. That is, it's amazing the intel that you have on one another.
Yes.
So to be able to withstand that, learn from it, grow from that, the biggest lesson I learned as a rookie was just because a blessing comes don't mean that you need to open it right away.
Bam. So this is huge, right? We talk about I tell people humility comes in a lot of different ways, right? I think the simplest way to grow in humility is to be teachable, right? Mm-hmm. Just to be teachable. And sometimes it does take a little bit of a life lesson. And that's the other side of humility that I found in my journey, whether it's pride or whatever, not to minimize it, but it's like sometimes humiliation puts you in the position to learn what you need to learn. So this is like valuable, and I'm sure that was part of the DNA that prepared you to have some of the career that you really, that you established this, and I'm glad you said that, bro.
Yeah, I would say this: when those guys retired and moved on with their lives, and then I'm the OG in the locker room.
Yep.
What did I do? Those same habits that I witnessed, I carried on.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so special to me this last year when the Rams won the Super Bowl. It's like those characteristics in that greatest show on turf and those things that I adopted, some of those guys that was still in St. Louis when I left, I'm assuming they adopted that because what I saw, that product on the football field, looked like what I saw 20 years ago from my old teammates, the greatest show on turf.
That's beautiful, man. And so sometimes, when you're depositing so much, when you give so much of your life, like the sacrificial element that it takes to establish your mark and your give, like I said, I think the NFL is doing a great job within the Legends community, the PA with the trust. And what we're finding is the emotional connection that so many of us have invested to not just our teams is like the value proposition, man. Can you talk about, I felt that, and I have the same experiences with some of my experience with the Giants. Just the value that you delivered, is it appreciated?
Right.
Right. What do you say, what's the ultimate end in relation, because you've given much to the game. I can make the assumption, and I'm gonna give you the space to talk about even what you've done off the field to, in your own community right here in Las Vegas and beyond, in the St. Louis. But like, what's the ultimate reward that you're expecting to reap as you continue to progress?
You got these questions, huh?
we hitting the heartbeat, baby.
I would say what touches my heart the most when I hear fans relating me, watching me growing up, inspire them. There's a number of kids in the Midwest that all they saw was St. Louis Rams and Steven Jackson for 9 years, right? Wow. So there's some kids that literally made it from grade school to high school and only know their running back to be me. And from that, and to see the effort and the commitment that I gave to that team and that city, it's one that I'm often reminded that say, hey, there's some dark days that I've had personally. And I was like, yo, Steven, bop, 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 bop. And those are the moments that I know the work that I put in was not in vain.
That's huge.
Yeah.
9 years, literally putting a franchise on your back in a small market. And it probably was overlooked in relation to so many of the other franchises that have had either more success or more market value. So, man, crazy. Like, let me spin it back a little bit. You just talked about, your family dynamic growing up. What was some of that like? You said, you got military and you got gospel, you got kingdom.
Right.
So, I'm a kingdom man. I love God. We ain't gonna shy away from. What were some of the challenges and struggles growing up in that environment? Because that could be like a culture clash in of itself when you're talking about a spiritual dynamic and a heavy discipline dynamic. How do you felt like that worked out for you?
I think it was more stressful on my mom than me. Because, Pop said, as soon as I put that helmet on, he's like, you got a job to do. I don't care what nobody else say. You got a job to do. So the mentality was bought in from a long time from my dad. So my mom was more stressed about the violence and the manner of the sport than anything. But
you putting that oil on your shoes.
Yeah. I think, but you're right. It's a clash of cultures. It's a clash of beliefs at some point. But I do believe that I don't know how to say it without sounding like.
Oh, listen, man, go for it.
I think there's a point that all religious people have to be able to stand on something that they believe in.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you don't stand on something that you believe in or the belief that you say you have, then I don't know if you really truly believe what you say. So I do think there's a point at the line that you got to draw your sword. Now,
there you go.
Who you cut and how you cut them is up to you.
Yeah.
But I know how to use that sword and also know how to use that sword of the word. So
excellent. If
I need to go there, I could go there. But if not, I could be a man in peace and calm the room down as well.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm a little different. I'm like, I'm the person that, I really feel like from the standpoint of approaching, like I'm full testosterone Jesus around here, right? So, we talking Talladega Nights, they talk about, they like baby Jesus. Yeah. I'm like, nah. Jesus, I'm table turning Jesus.
Absolutely.
And not for the sake that all the reality and the facets of the faith need to be true, right? So I think it's important that we're able to, glorify God with everything that we have. Like when I hit the field, it was like, man, I'm gonna do this to the glory of God. And the only way I can do that is by winning. Yeah. The only way that I can do that is by giving my best effort. And whatever I lack, I'm trusting that God's going to supply.
I'm glad we're talking about this. I never said this out loud. I don't think most of us pray before a game and say, hey, God, I want you to help me win. I don't think any of us truly believe that he's interjecting in a game of football. And I think some people try to water down our belief in that way.
Yeah.
For me and for you, it sounds like it's not about that. It's about the reality of the odds that we were able to overcome and the platform that we have to inspire and let others know that we count from nothing, and we are fueled by our faith that nobody could take from you. And that's the message that I hope people listening right now hear, is that it's not about the outcome of a game. It's about the light that's in me, and I hope that you recognize it.
Man, you hitting this thing in the heart. Yeah. That's what we want, man. It's really about that. It's not about the outcome. It's about that God is involved in people's lives at every level. Meaning, like, I'm talking about to the most intense, to the ways that people won't know until 10, 15 years later.
Right.
And I think there's, like I said, there's varying ways of, how that experience comes to fruition. But that's why I tell people, I used to say, man, God did it. Like this helmet catch, that, like, it's not like a cliche when I say that. I'm like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't recreate that moment. So I'm 100% with you, man. This is really the life experience that players, people are living with. Everybody's inspired from something.
Everybody.
So if Christ is my inspiration, I'm not going to take away if whatever else is your inspiration, right? So yeah, man, that's the beauty of this platform, and just having real life, real talk, real conversation. Honor is a big thing, and we're kind of getting into some of this conversation right now. Who are the people, right? Because when you go through some challenges, the days of adversity, who is the community that keeps Steven Jackson? Like, who is the people that keep you together when, whether it's scrutiny, whether it's you got yourself into something? Talk about that.
Well, I'm a close-knit family guy, so it was always the family. I'm fortunate enough to have both my parents in my life. I'm fortunate enough to have them both in good health. So with that, a lot of things stayed in-house because we're an old Southern black family. Although I'm not from the South, my mom and dad, they are, so they raised me with those roots. So in that, most of us in our families, we don't speak on things, and it's something that we're still working on, right?
Yeah.
As mental health becomes more a hot topic in our culture, in our community, it's something that you realize that having conversation about some things that's bothering you is not a bad thing. It's
huge.
It's not a bad thing to have a conversation that's a little bit. There's going to be some differences in the room, but we can weather that. We can weather instead of ignoring it and trying to sweep it under the rug. So for a majority of my career, my nucleus and how I vented and how I was able to, I guess, just weather the losing seasons was, I literally would call my mom and dad after a game, and they were the person that the first 5 minutes after the game, they got the heat. And then that allowed me to go to the media, and then I could kind of be more professional and give the PR answer and all that stuff. Yeah.
Trying to represent the organization, right?
Yeah.
Man, you are saying a mouthful, because I found that was, my life was, like I said, I had both my parents, grew up in a divorce home, and like, honestly, I got born again after my rookie year. So it was like, that's when my life changed. So I found my faith community, and of course, that's a growing reality. I mean, like, real relationships and like-minded people. Family serves as a big part of that as well. That's the thing that anchored me and gave me stability. That kind of allowed me to realize that the smoke and mirrors aren't really the thing that's really real. Like, we enter these high platform, high performance environments, and it's easy to get lost in the limelight. So, man, that's just extremely valuable. So your faith, your family, being an anchor. All right. So here's another. Talk to me a little bit about Steven Jackson, the man, the family. Where you are in your life as you transition out of the NFL. What are the highest priorities, or I would even say, what are you most proud of that you've accomplished in your whole?
I'm a married man. I didn't think that ever happened.
That's real.
Yeah. I'm a married man. I'm a father of 4.
Excellent.
And, the way I took pride in representing anything I did with the football, I have that same pride and more in my family, the things that my kids are able to accomplish for themselves. And even my wife, I mean, she's an entrepreneur, and when I met her, she had her own business. So being able to split carries with some stranger and being able to split carries with my wife, if I could do that for a team, I definitely could do for that for my family. So
love it.
We split carries, we split time, and we celebrate our wins together. And at the same time, raising little young people, that's a challenge in itself.
Man.
So the culture that we come from, everybody short-tempered and yelling at one another, is something that I think we have to be mindful as parents about, right? Is
Excellent.
that we have to have patience with our children. We have to have patience with ourselves and our families, because no one's perfect. And just because, you thought something, going to football analogy, you thought you just red zone and it was man, it ain't the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? It ain't the end of the world.
Me too. Absolutely. Man, so like I said, same thing right there. I think you hit it on the head, man. Like, it's these real meaningful experiences. So I'm married at 24. My life my turnaround was crazy.
See, I married after football.
Boom.
But I knew I wanted to do that, because I would not have been a nice husband. You know what I'm saying? I was so committed to the game that she wouldn't have not felt like I was all the way in. So
Right.
I thought it was important not only to myself but to the relationship that I was going to wait to the end.
Excellent.
I do think at night sometimes, I will not lie, if I had that anchor, if I would have had my wife back then, what else I could have accomplished.
Come
Because I
on,
was
man.
so split in my time and commitments.
So that's this. I'm a marriage advocate. My wife will be coming in tonight, and it's that's actually one of my biggest points. When you see the stability that you have now as a married man, and I know everybody's getting married later, and I understand everybody is making those decisions for different reasons. But talk about some of the differences in who you are as a man, as an owner, as a productive person. Now that you have that helpmate, now you have that partner, and versus where you were, high performing, but ultimately maybe other goals that you couldn't get to.
Exactly. When you're split, right? It's when you're splitting your time, you're splitting what you believe you care about. You can never give 100% to either one of them.
Damn.
And to see what I was accomplishing in the midst of juggling people, juggling relationships, juggling, do I want to be a conservative man? Do I want to be a wild man, right? When you're juggling all of that, you're distracted. And when, I wasn't, although I come across very focused on the football field, that was the thing that was off limits to everybody, right? When it was time for football season, everybody already knew Steven gets in his mood, so just get out the way.
Back up.
But in the off season, I could have made so much greater strides, I believe, in what I'm doing now in life.
Yes.
To see what I'm accomplishing in these few short years after my career without the NFL on every Sunday, right? I'm like, what could I have done with my wife and I planning out, this is what we want to accomplish and this is how we're going to get there together, versus, okay, I got a PR lady over here.
Yeah.
I got my agent over there. I got to remember somebody's birthday back there. You know what I'm saying?
Big shout.
It's a lot.
Big shout for the honesty, because that's really what it takes. It's just, this is the evolution of who we are as young men in the space where you have tremendous access. I always say, vision. I really didn't understand, like, when you hear vision, especially when spiritual environments. I really didn't fully understand what that meant, like what I really want my life to look like.
Oh, I'm a big believer in that.
Bro, I just really fully adopted that within like the last, I would say I'm 42, like last 8 years. Like, man, because I'm a man that's in the moment, right? Catch the moment. It's like I have focused on being present, which has value. But if you don't have vision, then you can't calculate, right? Or I would say prepare and lay that route for where you want to be long term, where you want your children to be, what you want them to have. So, talk about, maybe some of that and how that's materialized for you as you grow.
Yeah, so when I say I'm a big believer in that, I believe the power of the tongue. And in the power of the tongue, as a 10-year-old, I was able to write a poem called I Am an NFL Running Back. And in this poem, I describe almost to a T what has played out in my life. Furthermore, I continue to write goals. I continue to write my vision down. And I continue to see God prove his word is true.
Amazing.
I think that most of us, we have a hard time sitting still and writing.
Boom.
We have a hard time of asking ourselves, what is it I want and how do I get there? No, most people have these aspirations but unable to map out realistically how I get there. Most people are in a hurry to prove to the world that they're somewhere that they're not. And if you just slow down, map it out, you can actually get there. But it's a matter of sitting down, writing it out, believing in it, working on it daily. You got to put in that work. I'm not a farmer, but I do have a couple of beds. I got a couple of garden beds.
I like it.
Even in the desert, if you water and nurture something, life comes.
All right, man. This has been absolutely amazing, man. I'm going to pivot in because you've done so much. And something that's had great recognition, but I really want to, talk about your transition out of the league and move toward some of your off the field accomplishments into film, obviously media. You, like I said, you are one of the greatest. I want to set the record straight because I think that I don't know if there's anyone more. I won't say recognizable or who's put the dreads on the map like Steven Jackson, like, because 04, we had the dread was a movement, but it was an early. You was in on the early part. So Talk about that. Like, it was like it was it a campaign behind that? Fear the Drags? I don't know what it was. What we got there?
I will say I got to pay homage because I'm a big believer in giving credit where credit's due.
I love it.
Homage goes to my inspiration comes from Ricky Williams and Edgerrin James. Right, so they're the first two, and then a few short years later, I was right behind them. So yeah, I'm on the beginning of that culture and of that look, but I'm not the first. That said, though, dreadlocks, I think tattoos, I think the way one dresses, I think is all a part of your personality, who you are, and the more one is more individual and willing to express themselves in a way that's different than the masses, it speaks to me personally because it shows that you're fearless in a way. Most of us, I have my undergrad in human development, and so I'm fascinated with people.
You and me both.
I'm fascinated with us as humans. So I could people watch all day, every day, and watching people and their behavior, you realize in social construct that you could do projects and people are more followers than they are leaders.
Come on, man.
So my clothing line here that we're getting to is OBS, and it stands for Overcoming the Bull, and you can figure out what the S is. So overcoming things that we all go through in life, no matter if it's a gender thing, right?
Yep.
Male, female, race, social economics. There's something in our way. There's something that will be in your way that you have to learn how to get through. Like being, so a lot of times people make excuses. Well, I'm from the hood, or I didn't have a good upbringing. My parents weren't together, or I didn't take school seriously. Everybody has a story.
Yes.
But that don't mean that, okay, now you're 20 years old, or now that you're 30 years old, that's just how the rest of your story is going to be.
There we go.
You are the author. You are the person that can engineer that newness and that renowned sense of youth in yourself, because we all have that fountain youth in ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it ain't on the exterior, it's on the interior.
Yeah.
So when you learn to humble yourselves and realize what life is really about, we're here to grow, we're here to share, we're here to learn. And when you start doing that, doors open up to you. And through those doors, you realize that we have more in common than we have differently.
There we go.
So in the OBS movement, and what we're doing here locally in Las Vegas, Nevada, is we have the original brand, and it's all about expressing ourselves as a people. We have 14 barbers in our barbershop called the Original Barbershop. Nice. And then on top of that, we have a barber school where we're licensed to, as of right now, we have over 30 students in our class.
Man, congrats.
Thank you, brother. So you're talking about being the leader of men and women nearing 50. We're talking about 50 people that we are helping not only find themselves, but find their career paths. So as we're building this thing here, people are realizing it's not about black and white. It's not about hip hop versus any other thing. What it's about is individuality and embracing that although we are different in some aspects, we're more alike in others. And if we work together, we can achieve a lot of things that we don't realize if we just talk to one another.
Man, this is powerful, right? Because now we're talking about aligning on the things that we shared, right? I tell people, everybody wants to be around people that they either are already like or they aspire to be like, right?
Correct.
Like humans are just kind of built that way. Like you either want to get next to somebody that you want to be like, or you're already hanging with people that you already, right? Chickens, birds of a feather flock together type of deal. So that's pretty powerful because you're talking about aligning people on the similarities, but growing through some of the diversity, right? Like.
Right.
I think that's actually life-giving.
So one of the challenges here hit home, right? It might be a little political, but it is what it is.
Go for it.
Our school district here in Las Vegas, Nevada, Clark County School District is ranked 49 out of 50. Wow. Okay. And it's been that way for a very long time, right? So we're talking about year after year, thousands of kids here don't know what's next for them. University is becoming too expensive.
Yes, correct.
Some of them believe it's not even as aspirational. They don't even have a care for it or even a thought about it because they don't even know that it's available to them. And then lastly, some of us just have to get to work to help the family. It is what it is. So in that, we have to be able to not just say, okay, we're 49 out of 50. It's on the politics. It's on the political people. No, it's not, because we can take control of our own lives and our own decisions. So in doing that, what we're hoping to do as a partners, me and my best friend, what we're hoping to do is give these young people a career path. Or, you know, they don't have to stay in it 30 years, but if it helps them get to the next spot, if they move out of town, they know that they can make a living for themselves. Excellent. Not only are you able to make a living for yourselves, but your clients, your customers, these people are coming to you for their image.
Yes.
When they leave out of your chair and they feel better about themselves and about their day, they lighter and they're able to go accomplish more in their day. So if we're able to have this ripple effect in the community based off of an idea and a vision, going back to what we were talking about.
There we go.
Going back to the vision that we have for our people, it is one that I definitely want to be on the tip of the spear of that, because this thing I hope to last longer than me. When I'm dead and gone, the OBS brand, the original brand, will be something that United States know where the essence comes from. Man,
you're leaving an imprint in so many different ways, right? And I think this is something that is transformational leadership in action, right? Our world, we thrive off of transactions, right? We thrive off of transactions, but when you're impacting, engaging, and creating opportunity to add value into people's lives in a way where their identity is actually being shaped, fulfilled. Now that's transformational leadership, man. What is the, like I said, and this is hitting the area that you benefited from, which is like really full circle. What is, there's other things, other business ventures, other projects, documentaries. I've seen you do so much. What excites you the most about some of the interests that you've accrued?
Yeah, so I'll share. So going into film a little bit, so I've been a part of some major projects. So even Think Like a Man 2, I was able to have a small little cameo in that.
That's fire.
Yeah, to being the face of Nike football for a decade and having one of the greatest commercials with me and Sean Merriman of the Leave Nothing campaign.
It's crazy.
It's Last of the Mohican theme, right? And I'm running through the seasons, and you can see it goes from the winter, bop, 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 bop. So it was an impeccable project to be a part of, and to be the face of Nike football for such a long time that I did. It was amazing. So those things were experiences and things that I enjoyed, but from those experiences, I was able to cultivate what we see now into fruition, OBS. I know what OBS should look like. I know what OBS wanted. I know what I want it to be, because I was able to work with some of the brightest minds in fashion and culture and in film because of football. So it all ties back to football and my experience in football.
Yep.
But what did I take from it? What do I like? How do I like to express myself? I see myself as an artist,
Nice.
Big in photography, big in travel. I've had a chance to have my own art show in 2014. Which was
crazy.
By God's grace, highlighted by HBO, Hard Knocks. So a lot of things that I was able to do, and a lot of things that brings me joy. God has made ways for me to get it out to the masses, to the people, to see that I'm more than just a football player.
Boom, man, and this is what this whole platform is all about. Because now we're talking about journey, we're talking about value and worth outside of the game. Whereas the game has given us so much, we'll never ever want to separate from those ties, that community, that experience. We all want to be a part of those relationships that shaped us. But ultimately, when the game leaves you behind, now you have to, enter into that next phase of your journey, find out, what else am I great at? And I think you've taken so many shots and found a respectable amount, if not a dynamic amount of success. And, so I'm glad you shared and unearthed some of those gems, like an art show in 2014. We're almost a decade. That's a pioneering accomplishment when, in my estimation, when we think about now the world gets the chance to see what everybody's doing in 2014. Those weren't things that people were talking about. So let me leverage that and just kind of.
And to your point, really fast, before you leverage
hit it.
And documentary, right? We talked about documentary that I shot. I was up for a Webby Award as a finalist against Las Vegas, the LA Times and the Onion.
It's
and
crazy.
my documentary is A Week in the Life. And basically, David, negotiated with the league. I was able to get some footage where it was the end of an overtime game against the 49ers, which ended in a tie, right? So this literally, when we started shooting, it was just like magic is happening right away. Goes from a devastating tie or a loss, I can't recall which one it was, but it was either a tie or a loss, to boom, you're on the plane flying back to St. Louis, and I had my own rehab room in my basement. So we landing cross country in St. Louis about 1, 2 in the morning, Monday morning, and I go straight into my cold tub because that's the start of the next week. Monday morning, I got to get ready for the next opponent on Sunday.
Boy,
so it's really showing the fan, the viewer, like what it takes to just be available on Sunday.
Yeah.
We ain't talking about an all-pro special team, or we ain't talking about all-pro anything. We just talking about being available for the team. So literally, you take a L or you take some lumps in a game, and 1 a.m. I'm not even in my bed. I'm in the cold tub.
Man. See, this is the real facts when we talking about availability being the best ability, right?
Right.
But this is what happens in real life. There's so many moving pieces even in the marketplace, how things come together, how one little sprocket in the chain of events can upend something, and we got to do some patchwork and bring things together. Just springboarding off of that, as you kind of are finding yourself at this next phase of life, and I would even say like you're maturing in your phase of entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a leader, within your own, sphere of influence, which is dynamic and huge. What should we expect moving forward? I mean, like you got some, like I said, I would say you got some tremendous victories, and none of us are ever satisfied because we want to continue to leave that legacy. So what are we expecting moving forward from Steven Jackson?
OBS, I want people to hold me to this, but I expect to have my stuff, my clothes, in big marketing stores.
Excellent.
So regional, right now we're doing really good within the state of Nevada. Regional is the next step, and then from that we want to be nationwide. But we want to grow organically. I think going to the business table and talking to maybe some bigger brands about pulling our product in is being able to show a track record that we have it, demand. So this deal is going to be mutual benefit. You're not doing me a solid. I want to be respected as a businessman.
Thank you. Talk that, bro. Talk it. And that's what we're saying. We understand that we have a certain leverage point as athletes, but it's like sometimes whether it's the NFL, community, whether it's people feel like they're doing us a solid. No, we're this is legit. We're creating a real value,
right?
And the bottom line is just like anytime you step into a room, you're delivering value.
Yeah, we set it off the line. Like you and I, we handle our social accounts,
bro.
A lot of our peers don't.
Ain't no team here, man.
Yeah, a lot of our peers don't.
Be patient.
Right. So to that point, I think people have this expectation that think we're just machines, or we just gonna throw a bunch of money at something. I believe there's beauty in the struggle.
Yes.
I believe in learning. So the fact that even if I step away from it, you can't fool me. Like, come on, boy. Like, I know what it takes to do that because I know how to do it.
This is love. Because and that's the way God has shaped my life. I don't have any shortcuts. I just haven't had any shortcuts. I'm not bitter about anything. I've never been like grossly taken advantage of. I've had some decisions, whether they were poor, whether they were just decisions that didn't pan out financially. I would love to be further along, but ultimately I learned so much. There was no one, and you said this earlier, having this, no excuses, right?
Yeah.
I have, having an ownership mindset. Like, well, if it failed because I wasn't educated, I wasn't able to ask the right questions, right? And that's a skill. Asking questions is a skill that so many of us have to learn. And it sounds like you're committed to that process. You've taken shots. You've earned the right to create different opportunities, learned, and now you're at this place where you're establishing something that's going to continue to leave a legacy, Lord willing, across this country. I'm excited for this.
Right. So I had a chance to have that big bite at the Apple second contract, right? It was one of those things that changed my life, changed my family trajectory. And with that, we always want more, right? I don't know what your circumstances in the NFL was with a big deal, but what I would say to you as a brother to a brother is there's no number that you'll be satisfied at. Trust that. There's no number.
You heard it. Well, you know what? I like that, and I think and I actually agree with you. Then there's this space that I always reserve in my heart, and it's like it changed my life years ago because I think we're always in a position of striving, moving forward, building on. You're laying a foundation you want to build forward. I remember I think it was like 1 Timothy 6 says, "Godliness with contentment is great gain." So I don't lose sight of gain, but I can have contentment. And whether that's a number, whether that's an accomplishment, it kind of grounds me in a place where I'm not trying to move myself out of a place where God wants me. So, and I'm still, so it gives the room for there's more. Gain, there's more.
Absolutely.
But there's also a space of contentment in my heart where, you know what, he supplied my needs too. And I have the main thing secured. So listen, tell us where we can find more of, everything that's, obviously I know the website, StevenJackson.com, right? Plug everything so that we can get more to the masses.
This is love, yeah. Okay, I got you. So first off is the SJ39.com is where most of my content is where all my content lives. From everything that I post on YouTube to the documentaries that I share to my artwork that I spoke on, as well as the obsbrand.com is where our apparel is found. And, we just released 3 new shirts. We'll be releasing another 2 or 3 throughout the summer and preparing ourselves for fall. So currently working on that right now. So I'm always in the lab working on what's new. And then if the guys or girls want to support the barbershop or the barber school, is the original barber school Las Vegas, LV, actually, the original barber school LV.com. And you can find us on IG as well under those same titles. But most importantly, I would love for people to just, follow us on social and just watch the progress, because my actions will make you a believer. And this is no half stepping, and I don't get down because the likes are not up, and I don't worry about followers, because who I'm trying to, God is send for me, send to me, and we'll find each other.
Man, I appreciate you for sharing that perspective. Man, your life is inspirational. Your journey is admirable. Arriving to this, to so many of these, like I said, it's all the process, right? That's what I really want to get at. But arriving to these places of maturity, sobriety, and ultimately, like you said, transformational leadership, where your life and your vision is now impacting and transforming others' lives, is definitely inspiration. So listen, man, check these websites, every avenue, like, subscribe, comment. We need it all. You know why? Because there's a higher pedigree of person that we're interacting with Steven Jackson, myself. So make sure you hit it, catch the moment, like, subscribe, comment, hit us all, because we're bringing you love. We're bringing you the rawest, uncut, straight to the heart moments of growth, but also inspiration that will last you a lifetime. So I thanks Steve for rocking with us.
Man, it was fun.
Listen, man, we're going to continue to get great done, but y'all tune in next week. More heat's on the way.